Good morning from sunny Dallas, Texas. It's always sunny here. I can't remember the last podcast I did that it wasn't beautiful in the morning here. The summer is ending, but we're still having great weather. I'm here with the great Sergio Llorens González. I hope I'm saying that somewhat okay, and Duolingo would be proud of me. This morning, we're going to be talking about game localization and global platforms. And Sergio is going to enlighten us a little bit about what running localization at some of the world's biggest tech brands teaches us about the future of language work. Sergio, so I don't forget anything out of your illustrious career that you want to highlight. Can you do us the honor and introduce yourself a little bit better than my perfunctory introduction here?
All right. So you said it pretty right. I mean, I started in video games, in localization, right? About 15 years ago, when everything was a lot more new at the time. And then moved to Amazon, Huawei, where I have actually led and built localization programs. So in my career, I think the common denominator a little bit is technology and moving forward with what the landscape is bringing, right? So software localization, websites, UI, dubbing as well, that and captions and product and services. So covering a lot of things.
All right. We should get right to the meat and potatoes and put your feet to the fire a little bit. I think you've built and led organization teams and workflows at tech companies from Big Fish in Amazon, Huawei, you said Meta, and now you're
yes.
yeah, and now you're about to join SAS. What
Right.
did each of these teach you about starting from zero?
Yes. It's a big question. For me, what my experience has taught me and talking with colleagues, right? When you start from zero to create a whole localization program, you don't want to rush into putting off fires. Because when you land in your position in a company that's already trying to do something language related, everything is for yesterday, as we say, right? So my personal tip here is do not rush and first look at the business, connect with the business, the departments. What are they doing? What do they need? Who are they? So cover the W's, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how, and understand, write it down and understand the value and the priorities of each type of content and product and service. So from the get-go, you're aligning localization with the business goals, right? So you're embedding yourself there and integrating well, not just running around headless. Once you have that clear, talk with upper management, always talk with every owner, be clear and in drafting your proposed localization support for them, what workflow you want, right? From how they're going to deliver the content to you, the expected times, SLAs, right? The workflows you're going to put in place. You can also study the cost and everything and team members you want to have on board or outsource, and delivery, and then how you're going to measure that. So start with this analysis and then start small with a small group of languages that you can assume easily, right? And a few hires that are going to be your in-house members to help orchestrate, right? Now we're really shifting into orchestrating rather than translating in-house. No? So
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you decide whether to build it in house or whether you should be outsourcing?
You have to evaluate not only the volumes, which is going to shift, and the product that you're going to be supporting. You have to give value to the in-house connections and understanding of the product and expertise, right? When you have someone in-house, you have someone enabled to orchestrate localization, to lead the language, to create the language materials, be on top of quality, define what the quality is, put off fires, and edit live text if needed. If you outsource completely and you don't have anyone on board, there's in a way, there's a wall between you and the LSPs, right? They cannot know your product so well, and they cannot make decisions or amendments so well as you can from in-house. So you have to evaluate this value, the quality and the drive and the orchestration for localization. At least have a core team that's gonna push forward all the efforts and the outsourcing efforts as well.
Yeah. Looking back, which setup you built are you the proudest of, and why, if you can divulge that?
The one that I'm most proud of, and it's the most unusual and unorthodox, and I think I'm going to surprise you here, Stefan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's the Amazon Language Volunteer Program, which is only internal. It's composed of 2,000 volunteers right now, and more than 30 languages we're covering. And the idea of this program, it's purely internal. And why is that? Because when I joined Amazon, I was sitting in Spain, and I was the only localization professional. New teams were sprouting. Amazon has always been expanding, right? And we had Prime Video arriving, Audible, Kindle itself. We were expanding languages, and marketing teams, sales, you name it, Alexa, a lot of things happening. And more often than not, I had departments in Europe coming to me for language support, as in, hey, who can help in German? How do I outsource? I have this problem with this string. And you realize that a lot of people needed direction internally. And I started learning that a lot of teams were just, Google translating sometimes, or looking for a native speaker who can help them. Maybe they have someone, but this person left. They don't have a language for a while until they hire someone. So there is a lot of fires going on, language related, small sometimes big, but we were failing in unifying localization there and being there for them, to guide them, assess them, give them a hand, maybe utilize our internal resources, right? So this program, it's purely internal. We have a wiki, we have email list distributions, where people just send a cry for help, as in, we don't know what to do. How do we localize? How do we, before they start doing their own thing, right?
Yeah.
And this way we gain knowledge. We are like a radar. We have a radar, right? Network of localization. We're reachable, and we know what other teams might be doing. So now we know what's cooking in localization globally at Amazon. And this helps us onboard them maybe into localization platforms, maybe propose that they hire a loc PM if they have increasing volume. Then we are the experts able to assess internally the movements and the shape that's taking localization at Amazon, right? So that's the most interesting and unusual program possible.
It's such an interesting point, I think, because who could have predicted that open communication is important in a field like localization? You would have thought that we would be more in tune with that from the get-go, but I think maybe at the outset 20 or 30 years ago, it was about the technological capabilities not being that up to snuff in order to provide that kind of communication between the different parties involved. That's certainly changing. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the role of technology selection and how that plays into building those programs and what goes into those decisions.
Yep. So maybe tying with what I was saying, you have to think that localization is maybe not only for you as a loc manager, PM, language expert sitting there. You're working with other teams, right? They have their services, products, content. They want to bring it to you, and you'll need to deliver it. They'll need to publish. You'll need to see the results. What's going on, and people get involved. You can get more people involved into localization than just the language experts, right? So when I look at the TMS solutions and the workflows, I think, how do I want to involve the content creators, so the authoring part? How can I get them here? and how am I going to work through the workflows, obtain the result they want and that I want. And also with freelancers, you have to think, if sometimes you take it in-house, but sometimes you outsource, right? When you outsource, you have to think, how does a freelancer sees this when they sit at their place, when they work alone and they work on so many different topics and clients and content. You need to make their life easier if you want to obtain better results as well. So in this case, a TMS tool needs to provide synchronous communication, so centralized all the information where you need to see it, and not send separate emails with the style guide here and there and a special instruction now and they didn't check. So the instructions and everything needs to be in one place, simple for them. So that's how you want to choose your TMS and the features you want to put in place to make everything streamlined and simple and centralized.
Yeah. What mistakes do companies make when they're rushing into building localization without any strategy? And maybe what are some of the mistakes that you have made over the years that you can tip us off on, that people are likely to make, that you can give them a tip about?
Well,
That's two questions into one. I don't want you to admit your mistakes, maybe,
no,
but maybe you can give us some shed some light on things that are.
so as I said in the first question, I think scaling up too early when you have not polished your processes, your language materials, your reporting. You need to understand what you're doing well, your language quality assessment. You need to have everything tied before you scale up. Otherwise, everything spreads differently, and every language manager is doing things differently. You need to have a tied, unified methodology, so to say. So scaling too early is one. Another one I've seen often is not paying enough attention to the source text, as in, that's our prime material, right? We work from the source text. If we have issues there, we're going to have it times the languages we translate into. So I do pay a lot of attention and put a lot of effort in talking to the content creators. I want to make sure they understand that the text needs to be unambiguous, their terminology needs to be clear and coherent and consistent. I am going to ask questions because I'm going to pre-scan the text for localization, and get ahead of questions, because otherwise, again, you have it times the languages. And this communication with internal teams and the content creators is going to improve little by little how they create the text, and is going to help the whole process. So it all starts there, and we don't have to forget that, and we don't have to think we cannot talk to other people and help them, and they help us, right? That's part of working together. So
I think it's so important for anybody in charge of localization to be aware of linguistic issues, and that's why it's great if you speak a couple of languages, and you're probably going to be more in tune with some of the things that can go wrong. What product launch stands out as the most complex localization challenge you've ever faced, Sergio?
One that I remember clearly is when I was at Amazon, and we renamed Amazon Prime. It used to be called Premium in Spain, France, and Italy, I think.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've never heard that. So it's a
You're too
European
young, Stefan.
story that you're filling me in on. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm
You're
interrupting.
still too young.
I don't think so, but thank you for pumping my ego.
Yes, this was an unexpected challenge that came through. It had no clear owner. Each team had their mentions to and references to Prime. People had left different departments, so string owners were no longer there. Different teams moved. Different localization teams took ownership of other things. Some pages or strings were left orphan. You didn't know where they were implemented or not, in which country. Well, so for me, the challenge was like, what do I do here? Because I was sitting there and I had privileges on strings, right? That I could tweak them and update them. So I skimmed through hundreds of strings that were orphans, so to speak, trying to find owners inside. But in the end, I took just the ownership of updating them, going through them, making sure every time premium was used, it was not just a generic word. And now thinking back, AI could have helped so much,
Yeah.
in tell me when this is the brand or a generic term. But no, I had to do it myself, right? And do the addition, da da da, and then prep the ingestion on the night of the change for those strings. So it was very hectic. It was unclear, and it was one of those times where if you take ownership from localization, you can actually revert some potential issue, of not updating a brand term such as prime. So
Yeah. So much in our industry over my whole career has been on how to gain traction outside of our translation bubble and have some kind of a seat around the C-suite table, maybe. When or can you remember times when localization decisions have had the most direct impact on products in the form of engagement or other that really could
yes, 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 yes.
demonstrate value?
Yes, definitely. We do not only translate, we are aware of the messages we're giving people and what clients and users are doing, right? Because we understand what we're doing. So if you don't just sit and translate, you can do a lot more. And I'll give you an example. At Amazon, we have a page which is called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. This is the portal for the platform for authors, independent writers to publish their book on Amazon, right? So it has extensive help pages and then a whole technical process where you upload your book in Word format or HTML or PDF, and you click through, you create the version, you test it, and it's fine to go, right? And you publish it, you put it a price, everything. Then, so that's one thing. Then we have marketing teams in Kindle Europe and elsewhere, India, America, doing like a yearly contest for independent authors. So if you publish your book within a time frame, you put a certain keyword in the search, you enter the contest, and whichever book is read the most, they get prize, they get interview, they get next book published by Amazon Publishing, etc. Can you believe that on KDP, the platform for self-publishing, there was no mention whatsoever to these contests? No mention. No mention, of course. The product team is working on the platform. Platform is working fine. This is what we need for the platform. Marketing teams are doing their thing. We do our landing page, we do our posts, we do our social media. But guys, the actual page is not saying anything to. This could not be a problem, maybe initially, but I sensed that maybe it could be. So I went and looked for some data to back up my thoughts. So I looked for the search words of authors on the help pages and they did look for contest, writing competition, this and that, in different languages, different synonyms, everything. So you had thousands of searches. And I also talked with CS. We worked with CS and we translated messages, so blurbs, emails. And I said, guys, how many contacts do you get about the contest? Like, oof, this many, boom. And I'm like, what? So I went to top management in Seattle, like, guys, maybe we should be giving this to the clients, to the users. And they were like, oh, okay, maybe yes. So how do we do that? So we thought, okay, let's have a help page that talks about the contest. And I came up with the idea, there's some requisites when you upload your book. Like you need to do within certain price range, certain keyword, and people were missing that, right, when uploading. So I had the idea to have some pop-up UI strings, which were enabled and disabled after the contest. So we could just mention if you are entering the contest, just remember to put this, put that. So it turns out the conversion rate increased. Like contacts for CS just boom went down, and the searches as well, and we had more participants than ever. And that's where localization also comes in. We understanding this and the content and what we're giving the users in their languages, right? So
Yeah, that's a wonderful illustration of the engagement that localization can provide. You, of course, I'm kind of proud that I speak 4 languages and I'm working on a 5th, but you speak like 20. And so I hang my head in shame in the competition. You even addressed me in Dutch a couple of times this week, which is jarring because hardly anybody speaks. Dorota Pavlak actually speaks very good Dutch as well, so I've had some interactions with her, but it's not very often that I hear people speak Dutch. Congratulations on that. Languages for me have been a facilitator in not just my career, my life. Lots of forks in my life have to do with the languages that I speak. And I was wondering, how has language shaped the way you run localization in particular?
I think that much opposed to what people usually think, that as a translator or a language professional, you need to master the language you translate into, definitely, and the one you translate from. And that's it, right? But I see and I've seen great value in knowing other languages, because in the end, we work in teams, we work covering for each other, helping each other as well. And things don't only impact your language, they impact other languages as well. And from my experience, when you speak other languages, and you go through your translations or text or content, and you can more easily spot potential issues for other languages that use declension or different word order, and you start realizing that maybe something simple for your language, but it's going to cause trouble there. So you are one step ahead in raising a hand and letting your teammate know, or inform the content creators to maybe change something, or escalate. Just make sure it doesn't happen. So it does help. It does help overall. I think knowing languages. You don't have to be a native speaker level, but knowing enough. I mean, it helps you navigate, help others, and connect personally as well to others.
Yeah, I second that. I think having some languages, like you have languages in completely different language groups, so to speak, I think that's important too, because maybe there's similar problems between all the Romance languages,
Right.
but they're not the same problems that you would have in Asian languages or Cyrillics. What you have to, yeah. Did freelancing in your early career years, because you were a translator at some point in your career at the very beginning, did that make you more empathetic to translators and their challenges, you think? Did it make you a better manager towards them?
I like to think it has, right? I think I've been lucky enough to be in different positions. From freelancing, I've been in-house translator or tester. I've been creating the programs from scratch. And the part where I've been a translator sitting at home made me realize how it might be for the freelancers I work with, right? And the LSPs. So that helped me create a communication and materials and centralize our communication and efforts, so that it's simple for them, because I can feel where they're going to have issues. Even more so, I have also asked for feedback on where do they see struggles, where do they struggle, or what do you want to improve. And I have also offered direct briefings and trainings for them, because I could see sometimes that they don't know very well what they're translating. In some cases, it's critical. They need to understand. And you can just, show your face, tell them, hey, we're here. If you have questions, email us. I want to remove the wall between us. Like
Yeah.
I'm here for you, you're here for me. Questions, ask me. I'll give you all the information I have and let me know how you want it. What can I do to make your job easier? Because the better quality you get, the better for me, and vice versa. So having worked as a freelancer indeed has helped me understand and tap into the talent of the freelancers.
And I think invariably, when you speak a large amount of languages like yourself, you're probably going to be more interested in the culture, maybe the historical backgrounds, and that can give you some guidance in how to deal with the politics of language, which are in play and are founded in history often as well, like in Catalonia or in Flanders in my native Belgium. How do you think that's helped you, and how do you deal with the politics of language?
I think you have to treat languages regional or not. You have to treat them as the language that they are, meaning where they are, the culture, the speakers, what market that is, what clients' expectations, what you might have. So treat it in the same way. I have a special case. I remember working at Amazon, where we decided to localize from marketing and from localization. We supported them a few actions into Catalan. And why? Because those are especially culturally relevant actions for them. There's I don't know if you know the Sant Jordi, Saint George in Barcelona. That's the saint, the patron, of Barcelona, and it's a big festivity, and it's very Catalonia based. If you don't localize that into Catalan, the users would be shocked, right? Only to see it in Spanish, because it's very local flavor. So as a company, you have to decide on the experience you want to give and the experience you want to maintain. That's very important, because if you start localizing certain things into a language, you don't want to go back. That's gonna cause a lot of frustration, right? So when you take that step, take it in the same way you would start localizing into French or into Italian. So we go into this market with that product. So we went into Catalan with these events and products, right? And we're keeping that because it works. So I would say treat it culturally relevant as you would treat localization internationally with other languages.
I couldn't agree with you more. I have so many stories, but this is not my interview. We'll have to talk about them when we run into each other at a conference one of these days. Do you think linguists make better localization managers, or is business experience more important to be a good localization manager?
Both are important. But if I have to choose, I would say the language expert will make a better language manager, so localization manager, because it's probably harder to train the understanding of the intricacies of our work, right? The tools, the hurdles, than training how to do your business reports, understand your data, or lead a team, correctly. So I would say that potentially on the paper, I would rather root for a language expert to lead a team.
Yeah. You compared learning CAT tools with integrating AI. Why do you say AI is easier if you had to make that comparison?
Well, Stefan, I think you and I have a few years on our back, and we've been through a lot of computer changes and improvements and new tools and software, the internet even. And
in 1999, when I started in localization, I was told that probably was not a good industry to start in because it would disappear within years because of translation memory. So here we are.
Yeah. So my take on this is it's maybe a message for the people who are feeling they're left behind with AI or something. Just think that before the new softwares, let's think about when Trados came, right? I remember
Yeah.
studying so much on how to create a TM, parse files, update terminologies, the project, the file types, download it. Everything's so manual, so clunky. You have to learn, it's like,
Yeah.
or even Excel files. Like I've worked with Excel files so much, and you have to learn where to click and how.
Yeah.
With AI, somehow AI, it's like an intelligent plug. It's almost like a colleague you can check with certain things and can give you actual work, and assessment and there.
Wouldn't you agree that speaking LLM is maybe a language skill now? And I think I've learned over the last couple of years to communicate better with the LLM and get better results. If you want to call that prompt engineering, I don't think there's any engineering involved. It's language learning. You learn what works in communication. So it's actually a language that you're learning. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly. So that's the only thing you need to master now. You don't need to
Yeah.
learn where to click, where your files are, what file format, etc. You need to speak a natural language. You're a language expert already, right? So you just need to speak clearly and to see what you can obtain, right? So
and
it's
and you see what behaviors work, what communication styles get the best results, how to give instructions, just like
yeah,
you would learn how to work with a new colleague. This is the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
I think you learn what the colleague responds to. You can even give it a compliment once in a while, and that seems to be working just like in real life. There's real lessons that are in that. Of
indeed.
course, our industry, as any other industry, is changing a lot because of AI processes. Which old localization practices are going to be history and are going to be completely replaced by AI, you think?
On top of my head, I think assessing long chunks of text and rewriting. So I just remember when I mentioned I changed premium to prime, and I had to be aware of context. So AI comes in for help. I also had once to align a lot of different text in Spanish that were using usted and tú, different formal informal styles. And this is a tedious manual work, so to say, because you have to pay attention to the style, the pronouns, the verb conjugations. And now AI can do this complex work, assessing text, editing text, rewriting. So that is where I think is gonna come to help a lot more than before. We didn't have any other means. Maybe as well keyword detection, where I have worked in Huawei, and we were detecting potential swear words in comments in the app gallery, in any European language or dialect, and they were spelled sometimes with numbers, so they can get away with the actual swear word. You need a human eye and to understand this could potentially be a swear word. Now you throw in AI, it's gonna flag you right away where a swear word looks like it could be, right? So a lot of this big text analyzing and rewriting or flagging, this is now a lot quicker with AI. Maybe not perfect yet, but just like we are not.
Yeah. In parting, let's talk quickly about the worldwide localization community a little bit. I think both you and I love the network that we have built worldwide and the way localization people in general support each other. What role has your global network played in your career and in connecting you with the right opportunities?
A big one, really. I think it's only been one or two positions that I applied directly, cold, knocking on the door. but the majority, it's been I heard of someone who worked in that company, or maybe they knew about the position, they knew the manager, they referred me. So I think it's key because there's so many positions out there happening, right? And if it doesn't mean that you're gonna get the job, of course not. You still need to go through the interviews and prove your value, but at least you're given the chance,
Yeah.
right? And that's what the network can give you. So a lot of value. It has a lot.
Maybe a last question. If you had to mentor a younger self, a younger Sergio just starting out in localization today, what advice could you give them? I would say maybe ping Sergio and say hi and see what personal advice you can give you. But what would your advice be in general?
My advice is very clear. Don't stick to the script. So don't just expect to do or be willing to do what your job description says, what your current role says. If I've seen something is that things change a lot, you know. When I was a tester, I thought testing would always be the same way, and video games would be the same way. No, it's changed. Dubbing is changing real quick. AI is totally changed the paradigm. So my tip is keep adapting yourself. Be curious. Be genuine. Help others. Work in a team. Think big. Understand the value that you're bringing. Not just sit down and be a pawn doing your little job, so to say. No. Think bigger. You're a gear. Of part of a mechanism, so everyone we can help and grow together, and it's gonna be changing, so you better be ready to adapt.
Yeah, be valuable to others. That would be a really good piece of advice that I would concur with on you. If you can be valuable to others, then good things are going to happen to you. Sergio, thank you so very much for spending some time with us today. I can't wait to meet you in person soon somewhere and buy you a coffee. And I thank you so very much for this wonderful conversation this morning.
Same here, Stefan. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you soon.